Hello, and welcome to the Sovereign Collective podcast, where we bring you real, raw truth for your self-empowerment. I'm your host, Sasha Calavoda, and I believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, but that you don't have to do it alone. I love learning from people who continually strive to raise the bar, to go against mainstream thinking, and who dare to question the general consensus. People who risk being ridiculed or even risk the loss of their professional status as they bravely question the common narratives and challenge the rest of us to expand our minds and to reconsider what we think we already know. Join me in learning how to take control of your health and your mind so that you can have the energy to think more clearly and the confidence to step up and take responsibility for all aspects of your life. We promise to never censor here because I believe you are strong enough to hear the real, raw truth to make up your own mind. If you like what you find here at the Sovereign Collective podcast, then please share with your friends and family. I so appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And now, on to the show. Hi, y'all. This is Sasha here for 2 quick announcements before we get on to our interview for today. First of all, if you are looking for quality supplements, quality tonic herbs, some specialty food items, and you're in and around Calgary, then please go check out Lotus Herbal Health, a great family-run store that has 2 locations in Calgary. You can find them at lotusherbalhealth.ca to find out where their locations are, or you can shop online and they will pretty much deliver anywhere. So quality supplements, tonic herbs, great staff. Check out lotusherbalhealth.ca. Secondly, I want to announce the relaunch of my program called Your Conscious Pregnancy and Parenting Guide, which consists of experts in their fields around the world on consciousness and parenting and education and nutrition and dentistry and homeopathy and more. This is a program I created after my son was born about 10 years ago, a little bit more than that. And I am now very concerned after the events of 2020 for our future generations. And I believe the time is now for conscious parenting and for conscious parents to rise up and to take back our pregnancies and our births and our parenting and the resilience of our children and of future generations. The time is now. We change the course of history by changing the course of our future generations. And we do that by consciously raising them, consciously birthing them, consciously conceiving them, feeding them good food, and taking back the responsibility of raising healthy, well-adjusted, robust people. Resilience. It's time to build resilience. So please go check out sovereigncollective.org/get the guide, and you will be able to check out all of the amazing material in there. It's time for us to understand how our worldviews are formed, how our self-views are formed, and how to impact that and how that impacts the society on a whole. So check it out, sovereigncollective.org/get the guide. And now on to the show. Hey everyone, it's Sasha here for another episode of the Sovereign Collective podcast. And today I'm coming at you from Vernon, BC. Got the lake behind me. Beautiful day. It is nice indeed. I'm not supposed to actually be here. The laws of traveling and stuff are changing as of Friday, actually, where they're going to be stopping people and not allowing people crossing these borders. But that's, another topic. So anyways, today I have with me Mette Mitchell, a homeopath, which I'm super excited about because one of my missions is bringing wisdom back into the home and back into the kitchen. And homeopathy is definitely a part of that, to make you self-empowered, to take care of the health of yourself and your family in such an easy and effective and cost-effective way. There's so many good things about homeopathy, so I'm super excited about this one. So who is Mette? Well, she is a licensed homeopath, and she's licensed from the Center of Homeopathic Education in London. She also has a particular interest in getting homeopathy into families to help support as a supplement to allopathic medicine. And I would say get rid of the allopathy if you can, as much as possible, right? Because in my home, for example, we have all sorts of different remedies that we use just in case, that we've used for specific symptoms, and we don't have the children's Tylenol, we don't have the Advil, we don't have the Neosporin or whatever that stuff is. We don't have any of that stuff. We've got some natural remedies, we've got some homeopathic remedies. So this totally fits in with what I'm trying to help encourage in people's homes. She also facilitates courses for getting homeopathy into the home. So that'll be exciting. So I know we're going to talk about some resources that Mette has on her website that you can be a part of to also get empowered in the use of homeopathy. So the way I got to meet Mette is through Children's Health Defense. She is heading the Children's Health Defense I don't know, faction or whatever it is in Alberta, the chapter in Alberta, Canada. So I'm excited to learn how that's coming along, what the vision is for that is. And if people don't know about what that organization is, that is headed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the States, a phenomenal organization to raise awareness around certain injections, shall we say, and the potential side effects, the impacts, what is going on truly in the safety studies, what the truth behind that, which you're not really seeing in the regular news. So she's heading that, which is I'm super excited about as well, to find that that's coming in Canada and getting a presence in Canada, because it's an extremely important organization that we need to raise awareness with. So thank you, Mette, for being with me today. I super appreciate your time and your busy day.
Thank you so much for having me. That was such an exciting introduction. I love being introduced as Children's Health Defense, because you know what, it's also new to me, but it's like the biggest promotion I ever had in my life. So, I love hearing it.
I got to get a bigger audience so we can get this out there for more people. So hopefully it's growing every day. We're getting there. So thanks for all of you tuning in, by the way, and share with your friends and your family if you find that this is important, because these are some really important messages. And that's why I started this podcast, because I love highlighting people that are doing amazing things, because we can't all do these different jobs. So, but we need a way to access all this information, which is why I also created a program on conscious pregnancy and parenting that you can find if you're on the website for this, if you go to the store page, because there are so many amazing people doing amazing things. So let's see here. First of all, before we get into your background about why homeopathy, let's just hear about an update on Children's Health Defense, what's going on there, what the vision is for it. What can you share about that, and how do people connect with it, and what can people do to become a part of that mission?
Yeah, so yes, so Children's Health Defense, like the really, really short version of what it is holding the people accountable that are behind man-made epidemics that harms our children.
Aha, awesome.
So that can be anything. So it can be certain injections, it can be Monsanto, it can be 5G, it can be drinking water, it can be so many things. But so we're not limiting, we're not saying that this is the only thing that we're interested in.
Right.
It's just, if it harms our children and it's man-made, then we're going after the people behind it with
Right.
lawyers mainly. That's like a big part of it.
With lawyers, you said?
Lawyer,
Yeah.
yeah. So building cases.
Awesome. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. And they're doing some really amazing thing and raising awareness. And you see the headlines and you see what people are getting away with out there. And that's the thing, people. We need, this is why I started all this, is because where's the advocacy for our children? We're leaving this world to them. We need to think about not even just this current generation. What's going to happen? Like, look where we're at now. Let's look at 2, 3, 4, 7 generations down the road. What are we creating for them? It's really scary. So yeah, so that's awesome. Okay. And so what's the vision for it here, and how can people become a part of it?
So we are still waiting for, it's so boring to say it, but we still have to say it a little bit. We're still waiting for that goddamn website to be built.
Oh, okay.
And that's all taking place from the US. So it's kind of a little bit out of our hands, but it has only been a couple of weeks where we said we're going to have it next week. So it's very, so it should be very, very close. But
Yeah.
until then you can send an email. I'm just going to write it here.
I'll put that in the notes too.
CHDC.
CHDC.
No, sorry. Let me do that again. CHD and then Canada, written in one word.
Okay.
Yeah, so Children's Health Defense, CHD, and then Canada at protonmail.com.
Oh, Proton Mail. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the place to go to and to connect, and for weekly meetings and so on. National meetings.
National.
So
Okay.
yeah, so
awesome.
that's how far we got. That's how far we got.
Okay. That's a start. It has to start somewhere.
It has to start somewhere. And I can tell you that the people that show up to these meetings already, they are, people you want to hang out with. It's people that you want to have in your sphere. It's people that are super interested in this and that are ready to go out and take some action. So even just to hang around with people like that, it's a good idea to sign up and partake in those weekly meetings.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's a lot easier to find our tribe these days. Right? You
Yeah.
know what you stand for. There's so many things that you could just get out of the way because you know where people stand and you can have real conversations right off the bat. And who knows what can grow from there on top of that mission, right? There's so many other things that can come out of that. So that's pretty cool. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk homeopathy. What
Mhm.
got you into homeopathy? Why homeopathy for you?
Yeah, well, before I did homeopathy, I did interior design, and I did that for a international company, and I was whizzing around the world, like Tokyo, New York,
Oh,
Paris, and, you know, had an expenses account, and all of that jazz. And then I became a mother.
yes. Changes a lot becoming a mother.
Yes. And I became a mother to a 6-week premature child. So it's kind of like, you know, she was fine and all of that, but it's rough to be kind of like born into a hospital environment like that. And you have to stay there. We didn't have to stay long. We were there for 8 days. And we came out and everything went well. And then this whole vaccine talk starts, and you need to get your vaccines, and you need to and I didn't feel good about it, and I kind of rolled on that train anyway, and was like, oh, okay, this is what I'll do. And because I was born into the hospital system, then you also see a lot of doctors because you have follow-ups, and you just get that pressure, you know is she up to scratch with the vaccinations? That's like, every time you see a doctor, when you hold a baby, that's the first thing they say.
Yeah.
So I decided to go that route, and I was also keen to delay the vaccines because she was premature, and I didn't seem to make up for that. But that didn't mean anything to them. And then I felt the pressure when I was at the doctor's office, and I thought that we were going to be able to have a conversation about that, but they were standing there with the needles out already. It's such a and at that point I was just a vulnerable mom, to a premature baby, and I had been hospitalized before and after. So I went along with it, and then there was one vaccine that she had. Then she just was not really well after that, and it just went on like that for a week's time and so on. And then in the end, I took her to hospital, and she then had viral meningitis. So
At how old?
4 months old,
Okay.
yeah, or 3 months old, 3 or 4 months old, and 6 week premature. So,
Yeah. So really, she was only really a couple months old, effectively, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So then we were in hospital, and it was not this, and then they found out it was viral. It was not bacterial, but they treated, in worst case scenario straight away, because you have to with meningitis. You don't have any time to hang around and wait, right? So they did that, and then we came home, and then 4 months later, she had meningitis again. And this time it was bacterial meningitis, and she was in an induced coma. And
Oh my God.
like she had a Hickman line. They couldn't get the knee. It's just like a nightmare. And it was like of the 5 weeks in hospital, I would say that the 2 weeks of it was like every waking moment was a nightmare.
Oh God.
It's like you wake up in the morning and you realize you're in a nightmare, just like that. Yeah. And then of course I asked the doctors, why did my baby have meningitis 2 times?
Yeah.
Because meningitis is rare enough as it is. And they said bad luck. And then I was like, okay, it's first of all, it's not an explanation to an intelligent woman as myself.
Mhm.
And secondly, when you say you don't know why, then you're also not telling me what I can do to prevent this from happening again.
Right.
So I think, it's like this mother instinct. It gets so you can't step out of it. You have to, first of all, you have to, okay, I was also lucky to be surrounded by people that encouraged me to find out what happened to her. you
Right.
know
Yeah.
that I actually had people that were like, no, you are a mother, you this is your child, and something happened, and you can't live your life until you know what happened to her. You can't put this to rest. You might as well chase it. So I started chasing it, and first of all, I was trying to figure out if she had been treated in a different way. We could have avoided maybe intensive care, and so that was where I started, and I got the answer to that. And it turns out she was actually treated against protocol,
Oh,
but I found out about it too late, and nobody. I just knew that nobody had put any effort into sharing this information with me, and I had asked my doctor this question directly. If you have if the doctor that we had before you had made this choice instead of that choice, do you think you and I wouldn't know each other, basically?
right, right.
And I love this doctor. He was an amazing man. He super amazing, the best doctor I ever met. And he just turned into a robot. And then he said, the treatment that your daughter had was sufficient for the diagnosis at the time. Beep. And I was like, what just happened? So I just, nobody told me this. Even when I asked directly, I had to find out this on my own by chasing down consultants from hospitals and social events and like all the crazy things you do to find out what is going on here, right? And then in this research, once I started finding out if they could have treated her differently, then I started realizing, oh my God, there's something going on about vaccines here.
Was the vaccine directly related to her symptoms and the events that followed?
Yeah, I mean, that's the famous correlation, so I can't say that that is what happened, but nobody can come and tell me that it has nothing to do with it, that it couldn't be, because it absolutely could be. And that's enough for me.
Right. Yes.
And then I just in that whole journey, then I also wanted to get my daughter detoxed from the medicine she had in hospital, and then I had that done with a homeopath.
Ah,
Yes, and then she invited me to a social one evening where she was going to talk a little bit about homeopathy and how you can use homeopathy at home yourself with a little kit and da da da. And I was like, great, awesome. So I bought the kit, started using it, and now I'm a homeopath.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. And now your daughter's okay today?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. How old is she today?
She's 14.
14. Okay.
Yeah.
Long time ago. But look, changed the course of your life in very ways, but in great ways as well. So
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that I'm not going to turn this into a whole vaccine talk, but that it's a really important question about because I know there's remedies that you can do to detox harmful effects from childhood vaccines. Is that something that you would recommend if anybody watching this right now, if they're dealing with symptoms that are residues from those, to look into? Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that it's I don't know what else you would do of natural medicine if you're not using homeopathy, because I don't, what we can do with homeopathy is that we can turn the vaccines into homeopathic remedies so that we can use them as a anti-poison.
oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why we have to do that, the reason why we're choosing to do it this way instead of just using some of the other 6,000 remedies that we have, that is because the vaccines, they don't look like anything in nature. There's nothing in nature that looks like it. There's nothing that we can go out and take that looks like it.
Mhm.
And so you can of course use herbs, and you can do a lot of things to support your body to deal with a heavy issue, right? But
Yeah.
to actually hit it straight on, I don't know what other remedies that there are out there than the potentized vaccines that we're working with.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
I know people use GAPS diet. They use a lot of
Yeah.
detoxing method and rebuilding their gut. That's a big one as well, people. So I think doing that and using the remedies, that'd
Mhm.
probably be a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
powerful
yeah, 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 yeah. There
com-
has to be a good diet with it as well. Also, it's not fun. I mean, detox. But anybody that has tried detoxing vaccines know that it's not fun
right,
at all.
right.
You know, and homeopathy doesn't make it more fun. Let me say it like that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
for people who don't really understand what homeopathy is, can you just give a brief overview of what actually homeopathy is?
Yeah, yeah. We use a method that is called like cures like. And so for instance, if you chop an onion, so I could maybe take some of that remedy because I have a little bit of those allergy symptoms around my eyes. But so like if you chop an onion, then maybe your eyes start running, and maybe they get red, and you get a little bit of an itchy nose.
Yeah.
So that's symptoms that are produced when you're taking the crude dose of onion. So if you take it as a homeopathic remedy, so that means highly diluted, then we use it to treat the symptoms it can produce in the crude dose.
Right.
So we use it, for instance, for hay fever,
Right.
because those symptoms are very similar also to hay fever.
Hmm.
So that's the way homeopathy works. So actually we say like cures like, but when it then comes to the vaccines, we have to say same cures same, because we don't have anything in nature that looks like.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
so when you're treating vaccines, are they actually using vaccines, like very dilute doses of vaccines?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I didn't know they were actually using.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
it's like if you get bit by a snake, what's your medicine? Well, it's snake poison. You use snake poison as an to go against the venom.
Right. The antidote. So
Yeah.
can you explain how, because from my understanding, it's a more potent remedy the more dilute it is, right? We'll go into the more like I think if can I just say if it's the more less dilute, it's going to be more with the physical symptoms and it goes more into the emotional symptoms if you go more dilute. Is that true?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. I can just talk about this for hours and hours. So, but it's you can actually say the more material the doses, the more material it is that you're treating.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that makes sense. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
So when it's more dilute, it goes deeper.
Right.
Yeah. So, and when it goes deeper, then it reaches into the emotions, the spiritual things, the mental things, the full body experiences, and so on. So, for instance, if you have tried having a food poisoning, have
Mhm.
you tried having food poisoning?
Have I tried having food poisoning?
Yeah. Have you ever had a food
I
poisoning?
don't think I've ever had actual. Oh, yes, I did. When I was pregnant in France, I puked in the middle of the street. It's the one time I puked when I was pregnant. I ate something
I
bad.
had food poisoning in France too.
Yes.
But when you think back to it, was there a point in time where you thought that you could die from this?
Mm,
Or you had the
I don't think it was that strong for me, but my mom went through food poisoning so bad. She was withering away. She was skin and bones. She couldn't hold anything for weeks. And you know what she did? She'd go to the hospital. They gave her an IV. She says, well, what do I do? They say, go home and eat Jello. This is what they told my mom. And like literally, she just lost everything. So she looked like she definitely could have.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that's even if you are not going to die, you can get the fear that you are going to die from it.
Right.
So that's a mental emotional experience when you're having some quite physical symptoms, you know. And when we go to the doctor, they treat it as if you only have a physical experience.
Right. Exactly.
So the higher the potency, you know, so you can say that when the experience is very present, then we use the potency 200C,
Yeah.
which is also the potency that we use for childbirth, because it's also everything is in the room. It's right here.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
very physical and it's very mental, emotional, and present right now. And then we can use some of the higher potencies um, for different reasons, but maybe because it's something that happened a long time ago that you're treating.
Okay. Okay. And then the 30 CH, those are the ones that you usually see in the stores. Those are
Yeah,
strictly
yeah.
physical type symptoms.
They are just good all round stuff, you know, where you treat physical things and you touch on the mental and emotional, but it doesn't get too psycho. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's because there is also a certain point where you have to say, no, now I need to go and see a homeopath
Right.
and get
Yeah.
some advice and to kind of like go through it and find the real connections. And
Right. Okay. And is
yeah.
there anyone that homeopathy is not suitable for? Are there contraindications with homeopathy? Can it do harm?
No, it can't do any harm. You know, there's no homeopathic remedies, for instance, that can induce a miscarriage,
Okay.
because we are working with the vitality of the body. So, and the body always wants to protect, and the body always wants to heal. So we can never do anything that goes against it. But um, if you have eczema and you treat it with hormonal creams,
Mhm.
cortisone creams, like the creams you get from your doctor,
Yeah.
and you then give a centrifugal remedy to kind of like to have the body without knowing it. Like sulfur is a remedy that we use so much for the skin, but it's also very centrifugal. But so that means it wants to throw everything out of the body.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
But if you use these kind of creams, you kind of prevent the body from doing what you have.
Aha. You're suppressing,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, and then maybe you can get something on the lungs, or you will start getting eczema in other places and quite violently. So always, take your skin problems to a homeopath. That's my advice. And um, if you so that's one thing that you can, where you should be a little bit more careful, and also always don't detox if you're constipated. That's Don't have your liver start detoxing if you can't move, if your bowels are not moving.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. And what about the mint? I know there's something with mint that you shouldn't have mint with. What's that connection there with mint and homeopathics?
Yeah, we're very careful with taking the remedies, giving the remedies, keeping the remedy, where to put the remedies, and so on, and we are we can't look at a pill and say, is this working or not? You can kind of see if you stepped on a vitamin, then you're not going to take it, you're going to sweep it off the floor and
Right.
put it in the bin. We don't have any way of measuring or scaling or seeing what's going on with the remedies. So we just want to have always look after the remedies in the best possible way, and take the remedies under the best possible conditions. So if you are only taking one remedy one time, which is classical homeopathy very often, then it's only natural to kind of like try and clear everything out of the way that you think that could disturb the remedy, because you only got this one shot, right?
Oh, okay.
But that's not the way I prescribe. I very often prescribe with repetition. So I'm not too concerned about these things, but you should keep your remedies away from radiation, Wi-Fi, your mobile phone, all of that, and and keep it away from strong odors. From your don't keep your homeopathic remedies and essential oils together.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Makes sense. It's frequency, it's energy, it's
yeah,
resonant, right?
yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Okay. So, and using it in the home, like, so the thing is, are there some basic remedies that are good to have? Like arnica, I always have. I have a whole bunch, but I know also applying homeopathy is very specific to the very specific symptoms that people are presenting with. So can you have some basics at home that will cover a wide range of things, or is it always super, super specific to what people are experiencing?
If it's, when we use homeopathy at home, then we use it for acute ailments. So waking up with a sore throat, um, I'm 3 years old and I bumped my head again, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got my finger slammed in the door, or I bit myself in the tongue, or I have a headache, or I have that, all of those things that if we took it down to our doctor, he would say, don't even bother coming, go home and wait, or take something to
Mhm.
soothe the pain,
Right.
basically. Um, those are the things that we treat, and we have the physical symptoms to go by when we do that, and that's what we do when we prescribe at home. The bigger emotional chronic things, that's what you go and see a homeopath for. So it's quite easy to prescribe homeopathic remedies at home for those very clear symptoms. I vomit and I can't stop. Okay, take Ipecac from the kid, right?
Right.
It's because these remedies have been tried and tested so many times in these situations. So of course it won't work for everybody, but show me one medication that do.
Oh, I'm just
Yeah.
recording something. Sorry. Just one sec. Do you need something? I'm gonna pause this. Just one sec.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so we just got interrupted there quickly. So we're just coming back. We're gonna try to get back online. So we were talking about, you're vomiting, you go to the store, you get the remedy. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the symptoms that we prescribe for, when we prescribe for homeopathy for first aid, for acute ailments, and for minor ailments, then maybe we will observe if it's like a snotty nose on a kid. Okay, we can observe that the snot is yellowish. Okay, yellowish snot is pulsatilla, and then maybe at the same time we can also observe that this child is clingy and whiny and wants a lot of attention, and both things are pulsatilla. And then it's quite, but you start with it's the physical thing that you are prescribing for.
Right.
So the other kind of like emotional symptoms, they just become hints, further hints. So where you can say, is she crying all the time, or is she angry all the time? You know,
Right. What
but
happens if you administer the wrong remedy?
nothing happens. The homeopathic remedies are instruction to your own vitality, to your own immune system, if you will. The same body that you have that will heal your bones if they break, right? No doctor is doing that for you. That's your own body and your own immunity that do that. And that's what we are tapping into when we give the homeopathy. And the genius thing about doing that is that then sometimes, I don't know if you tried that, but you can have this experience of a homeopathic remedy working really fast.
That's going to be my next question, actually. Is
Mm-hmm.
like, how long
Mm-hmm.
does it take? Because, for example, we went through a period when Kai, my son, was just an infant, went through a period where he didn't move his bowels, but he was 100% breastfed, but he was starting to break out in a rash. I'm like, okay, now it's time that he gets it out because stuff is coming through because he's not getting rid of it, the normal channels. And I got him some homeopathy. And then I went to the natural doctor that we had at the time was like, homeopathy, that could take like weeks to work. I'm like, what? No, I don't think so. And I wasn't worried about him because he wasn't experiencing any kind of discomfort. He didn't seem to be in pain. There wasn't anything that I wasn't too concerned about. And he eventually started moving. That was the only time that ever happened in his life. But it was interesting because he was like, that could take weeks. I'm like, really? I don't think so. No. So yes, how long does it take?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because when we're working with acute things where everything is present, when things are in the room, then the vitality is also very high. So, and it's the vitality that we work with. So when you have a baby that spikes a fever and they are arching their back and they're red all over their body and they're screaming their lungs out, is that high or low vitality?
It's like, hi.
That's like super high vitality.
Yeah.
And that's who we're working with. So when we give a belladonna to them to deal with the fever, the body is just like, it's so ready to react and to do what it needs to do.
So so I've had this question for a few other people before. So fever is a really good thing, right? We live in a culture where we want to suppress. We're afraid of fever. We suppress, we suppress, we suppress. So what happens when we suppress a fever with homeopathy? Is that really suppressing? Could it cut that off sooner than we would want it to? Okay, can you explain that?
We don't suppress it. We just help the body solve the problem faster.
Okay.
So you can test it yourself if you should ever be in the situation where you have a hangover. try and take Nux vomica,
Right.
homeopathic, and have your whole Sunday's worth of a hangover in 45 minutes. It's not fun,
So will it intensify it for a bit before it gets better?
It can, yes.
Okay.
Because it's like, if that's part of the disease process, that you need to reach a higher fever, for instance, or you need, that it's like, it's the disease. You don't cut anything off the process of the disease. You just make the body so much more capable of dealing with it, because you just give it the right information.
Right. Amazing.
It's I can hear how crazy it sounds every time I talk about it. It's like, I have never seen this happen. I haven't seen the mechanism happen in front of you, because this is not something that we can observe in a petri dish or something like that.
Right.
And it is because we have to use the whole complex organism to do the healing. We're so used to take a substance and then that deals with the sickness or the intruder, right? But there is this one study that was made with homeopathy where they gave some rats prostate cancer. I do not endorse any kind of research on animals at all, as I'm against it, but this is how the study was made. So and they had the control group, and it was placebo controlled and everything, and there was no doubt about it that the rats that had the homeopathy instead of the placebo had much less tumors, and they also had, if they had tumors, they were smaller. So it was like completely clear that the homeopathy worked on prostate cancer.
Right.
So then they isolated the prostate cancer cells and put them into the petri dish and put the homeopathy on top. And then what do you think happened?
Probably not so much, right?
Nothing at
And
all.
that's the thing. That's with modern science. It's like
Yes.
it doesn't happen in a petri dish. It happens in the
Yes.
body, and it's the intelligence of the body. You can't.
Mhm.
It's so crazy, and then they think they could tell what's going to happen there, but you're missing the whole, a major component of the whole solution, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
So that's the thing. We need to have we need the complex organism, which is called our whole body, to heal from something,
yes.
because there's something everywhere, and
Yeah.
these things are being put, and you have blood flowing through the whole body, and you have, so that's how homeopathy works. We treat the whole body. We're not attacking an intruder.
Right. Right.
So
And
if we have
such
good
a beautiful
vitality,
example of that, like that's powerful to show that it's the body that's doing the healing.
yeah,
It's not attacking the microbe or the whatever.
yeah,
That's powerful.
yeah.
Ooh, I love that. Nice. And
Love.
I used to use a trio of remedies, the ash trio they refer to. A lot of
Oh
homeopaths don't
yeah,
hear this, but for,
triple A.
yeah, ash
Yeah.
was for aconite and what was spongiatosta and hep sulf for croup. Because I know some, like my son, this boy
Uh-huh.
digging in the background over there,
Mhm.
he was little, he was susceptible to croup. So I would put him in front of a cold window and I'd give him that. But sometimes I'd go through like two, I wouldn't even get to the third remedy. I would
Yeah.
just, and he'd be gone. And like, people are going putting their kids on antibiotics, taking them to the emergency room. It's this whole traumatic experience. And I'm like, geez, just go spend a few dollars on a few remedies and then there you go. It was amazing every time. And he had it several times and never once medicated him for it, took him anywhere for it, nothing. Yeah, super effective.
When I see those programs, it's like after my I spent so much time in hospital myself. I had this bizarre obsession with watching all these 911 programs where you could
Oh,
see,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and then you see people if they've been in a traffic accident or something like that, how they're being put into these blocks and they're just lying there and they're just
Yeah.
swelling up and swelling up and swelling up and they can't get an operation until they stop swelling. And I'm just like, just give them arnica. Just give them arnica and you can operate on them in 12 hours. I mean,
Wow.
seriously, it's like, and they have to lay there for days and be in pain and be medicated and wait for something scary and like an operation. I think sometimes it is just completely abused that homeopathy is not used just for something like that in an emergency ward or in an ambulance or something like that. That we have to, I mean, that we have to um, meet this kind of abuse for what we are doing. It's a crime against humanity because we have this beautiful medicine right at our fingertips,
Right.
and we are being told all of these lies about it,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know
where
you're looking.
actually in reality this is, like you said in the beginning, you said we don't even have medication at home anymore. And that's the thing, it's just a big, scary jump for people to do. That's why I say you can use it together with, and you can. And I know where it will go. It will remove you from medicine completely. I haven't seen a doctor for more than 10 years, 12 years. I don't know when I saw a doctor. And I don't want to, you
Right.
know, and I don't need to.
My original family doctor doesn't know that I even had a son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't. And then that's such a beautiful way to show how, what a valid way to integrate both that emergency Western medicine and the homeopathy, how that could beautifully blend together. And we don't
Yeah.
have to be fighting. It doesn't have to be either or sometimes. Like that is an amazing example of
Yeah.
that. And I remember listening to a podcast that I listened to a lot on all this natural health and medicine. They were debunking all this stuff. And one of the things they debunked was homeopathy. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Like, have you actually tried it? Like,
Yeah.
they're trying to compare placebo controlled, double blind study, blah, 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 blah. It's like, just use it. Just
Yeah.
use it and
Yeah.
you'll see that
Yeah.
it's nothing to debunk. And I mean, there's whole careers and clinics and based on this. If it didn't work, I think it would, the story would have told itself a long time ago, right? Yeah. So you're holding up this little first aid kit. So what's that you've held up there a few
So,
times?
so this one is my current favorite kits. There's like two kit. There's something called the Basic 36 kit, which is something that I say babies should be born with. So baby, kit, placenta. That would be the best way.
Okay.
So that's with 30 C potencies. But this one, I really like it so much now. It has a little bit less remedies in, but it has in 200 potency remedies.
Oh,
Uh, so you have it for, so it's this one is called for accidents and emergencies. So you really have 18 remedies here where you can treat things, just from reading a little book like this, like a little booklet like this. You will be able to treat, let's just see, like abdominal pain, allergic reactions, asthma, bleeding and hemorrhage, bites and stings, broken bones and fractures, bruises, burns, choking, concussion, diarrhea and vomiting, drowning, go, you know.
Wow. And
And it's
these kits that you sell, you put those together and sell?
no, you have to buy them from Helios in England because you're
Oh,
not allowed to sell them here. But if you are a member in my club, then we have shopping events in there. So that's in my online club, which is called the Home Prescribers Club.
Home Prescribers Club. Oh, let's tell. Okay, while you're on that, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So first
So
aid kit comes from Helios.
yes,
Learn
in
about that,
England,
and then
and
you
this.
have a club. So what can people tell us about this club and how people can get involved and why they would want to and what they can, how they can benefit?
Yeah. Well, like I told you, I started using homeopathy myself after I went to this social with my daughter's homeopath. And when, and then I got this kit and then I started using it. And then I just, it changed my life. It took me, I, I just didn't have to use any pharmaceutical products anymore, which of course I had been using. And I have always felt a little bit shitty about it, in particular when it had to do with my daughter, you know. And, you know, when you put something in your baby's mouth or your kid's mouth and they want to spit it out because it's so gross and disgusting, you know, do you really want to do that? You know, it's like borderline abuse, or it is abuse. I don't know. But, and because if you did that with anything else with your kids, you know, it's, um, so I was just, one thing that I was scared of after we got discharged from hospital was fevers, because she had seizures and the seizures led to her being in a coma. So I wanted
Oh my God.
something,
Wow.
yeah. So I wanted to find something that I could use for fevers. And it's very easy. It's a remedy called belladonna. It works for most babies. It also worked for us. And then it was like, okay, now I don't have to worry about having any other kind of medication in the house for this, because I know that I have this remedy.
Yeah.
And I just kept having more and more and more experiences like that. And I just saw how many things I could do myself. I could also see how it made me feel so empowered, because in the process of having a very sick child with meningitis, we got sent away from the emergency room 4 times with meningitis. You know, I
Why
needed
did
to
you get sent
have, I,
away?
huh?
Why did you get sent away?
Because it happens to most people with meningitis, because it's a very different disease to diagnose, because you can only do it with a lumbar puncture or a spinal tap. You know, you can't, you know, it's super difficult to do. So that's why. But it's scary. It's a scary place to be, to know that the system that you relied so heavily on to be there for you, that they let you down in such a massive way. So I wanted to take some of this power back home again, and I was able to do that with homeopathy, and I want everybody to have it. So
Okay.
I made this online. So I started giving courses myself. When I started studying homeopathy in the same way as my homeopath had done it, and then it has just been growing and growing. So now it's like this big online club, which is just loaded full of information on how you can treat different ailments with homeopathy. And I specifically talk about the remedies that are in the kit. And then sometimes I suggest other remedies as well. But everything is so easy to do. So for instance, you can look up burns, and then you will see a little sections about what's the first degree and second degree and third degree burn, what's the differentiation from that. When should you be worried about a burns, what's like red flags with burns. And then of course I talk about all the homeopathy that you can use from there, when you use it for burns, for what situations, if it looks like this, if it acts like this, and suggest some herbs as well, you know. So it's, and we have this is just like this big index for so many different ailments. So there's sleep, and there's diarrhea, and there's broken bones, and there's headaches, and then you can go in and check, have everything. If you got the homeopathic kits and you got this website, then you are home prescribing already. And then of course we have weekly Q&As and new monthly material and shopping events, and
Amazing.
yeah.
How does somebody get to be a part of that?
So you just go to my website, which is homeopathyly.com.
Homeopathy. Oh, I said it. Homeopathy.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then in the top menu, it says the Home Prescribers Club, and then you can click on that, and then you can sign up. It's $9 the first month.
$9 the first month, and then what is it after that?
$19, and there's no contract or anything like that.
Nice. Well, I think that's extremely valuable service right now when people are looking to become more self-sufficient. They're moving away from the cities. They want to be on the land more. We're seeing the powers that be might not have our best interest at heart. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So I think some people at least are recognizing that they need to take this into their hands. So a first aid kit, like that's I think the thing that was one of the things that scares people the most is they take good care of their health, so they know they're going to protect themselves from chronic disease, but what do they do in that case of an accident, or like you said, a burn or something like that? And if they can be empowered with that and knowing that they have, and if you see to have that kit ready,
exactly,
service.
Yeah, and also when you have what I want is because I have this community in Danish, and we have like a big Facebook group with more than 600 people there, and some people have been there for a long time, and it's easy to help each other and ask questions. It doesn't cost anything to ask other people questions, right. And that's what I want with this as well. But we're still new. I launched it earlier this year, so
right,
it's still growing, and people have to find it and see it and understand what it is and so on. But the one main thing I want to do with it is to have this community in there where people can help each other. It's expensive to go and see a homeopath, and spend your money on your homeopath for chronic ailments, and learn how to deal with all these acute and minor things yourself.
Right.
That's where you should, that's a good way of doing it.
So do you recommend that people just get those kits to have at home, or are there some key remedies that people can run out to the store right now? And if you have a family, young kids, are there some, what are some key ones that you would want to have at home? Arnica's got to be like number one.
Arnica got to be there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Gelsemium. Do you know gelsemium?
Yeah, I have that. I don't remember what it's for. I always have to look it up. So I was planning to learn this stuff, but I have it, but I don't remember what it's for.
It's for flu. But it's also very good for when you're burned out, like after you had disease. So I use it, for instance, for people who had COVID and they're very tired. That tiredness you get when you have a flu. You feel this tiredness all the way through your bones, and you just can't drag yourself out of bed, and it just works so well for that. It's just unbelievable, and I think it's unfortunately needed a lot because we live quite stressful lives and so on. But that is a great remedy. And then I think also I would say some belladonna for fever is an absolute must. And then there's carbo veg. Have you used that for anything?
I have not used that. No.
So, but carbo veg, it's activated charcoal homeopathically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I haven't used it. Okay. So detox?
It's good for detoxing if you have any kind of stomach problems or digestive issues.
Yeah.
And then it's also good for breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. People having any acute lung.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people have had that experience after they have had something that has been diagnosed as COVID. They have had carbo, which has been extremely good for that. But also if you are in an area where you can be affected by forest fires.
Oh, yes.
Great remedy for that.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm in an area where this is definitely a big deal, getting the here. So,
but you need to have a kit. I mean, a kit is absolutely essential. Everybody needs to have a kit. And I think you should have a kit, but also I have these 10 free 10-minute consultations that you can book with me. And maybe you can just, if you have something happening, you just call in one of those free 10-minute consultations, and you say, we woke up this morning and this is how we feel. And then I can say, do you have a kit? And you say yes, and I say yeah, and then I say, take that remedy from the kit and let me know in 10 minutes how you feel.
10 minutes.
Yeah, if it's an acute ailment, you have all the vitality, everything is there, it's ready to take action. As soon as you let it know what to do, everything is waiting for that information, and it just does it. So for acute ailments, you want to have very fast, a fast reaction. But then if you have to go to the health food store and they don't have it, and then you have to order it, and then you have to,
Right, good.
And then you'll tell me the remedy didn't work.
Right. Well, and that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that eczema example as well. Did the remedy not work, or did it cause harm, or was it the crap that you had on you? Right. So yeah, that's an interesting point right there. So is that something you offer with that Home Prescribers Club?
You can buy kits. The 10 minutes chat.
10-minute consult.
Yeah. Oh, that's for anybody.
Oh,
Just
wow.
go to my website and anybody can book themselves in for
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you.
Well,
Wow.
yeah. But I just want to say, inside the club, you can buy the kits.
Okay. They get it? Do people get a better deal if they're buying from inside the club?
No,
It's
the same. It's the same. Yeah.
It's okay. But then you get the hints on how to do it. And that community, that's so important too right now, right? Like to be able to access that community and ask those questions and have those conversations. So right now is one of the most important things I would say is connecting.
You have to do this. That's what's driving me crazy, because I hear about people that can't go to their doctor because they don't have a whatever test, or they can't, or they don't want to, it's like doctors have doormen now, right? What are you going to do if you feel sick and you wake up and you want to see your doctor? Either they say you can't come and see me, or you're not sick enough. Go home.
Or
come back when you're more sick.
We're not even allowed to be sick these days. So people don't even want to let people know that they are. So they'll hide, right? And they won't. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Had a question come up and I can't remember what it was. And baby, so there's no age, right? Like all the way from babies on. So where I found homeopathy baby wise, like teething really good. Like my son didn't really get colicky, but there was a couple things, but I had to remove some things from my diet. But I really feel like there's no age that you can't apply homeopathy.
You can be pregnant, and you can be very old, and you can be frail, and you can be a baby, and you can,
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, I don't know. We covered a lot. Is there anything else? What kind of other messages do you have for families and parents and about homeopathy? Like what else can they learn about you? So first of all, if they want to consult with you, do you consult online? Do you consult in person? Or just
both?
You do both. And you're based in Edmonton?
Yes.
Right. Okay. But you can do long distance consults as well. So if anybody wants to see Mette, 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 it's at I can't say it. Homeopathy.com. I'll put that in the notes there for sure. But is there anything else that you want to talk about? And so, okay, let's talk about specifically what's going on right now. Some of the typical, you did touch on it a little bit, but are there other remedies that people would want to have on hand for some of the typical symptoms that people seem to be experiencing right now?
I just think that's more interesting than that, because I mean, in homeopathy, okay, the remedy that seems to be always mentioned when it comes to the current epidemic of symptoms, it's arsenicum, the homeopathic remedy arsenicum, which is also in most kids. One of the main symptoms in arsenicum is feeling a little bit neurotic. And fear of death. Okay. Yeah. But it also it's a very, very useful flu, even stomach flu remedy. So, but I think you should, if you want to explore something about homeopathy that is very, very surprising and interesting, then explore homeopathy in Cuba. And just know that in Cuba, what would be the health services, the official health services in Cuba has used homeopathy for many, many years and have extremely good results with it. So for specific diseases and problems that they have in Cuba, and they were also very quickly out with a combination remedy, which is now called the Cuban mix, which they gave to the vulnerable part of the population as a prophylactic treatment for whatever is going around.
Are they studying that? Is there anything official as to the results with that?
They are studying it and they're going to publish as well, because they always do that in Cuba and because they come from such great sources. But just go and check the rates, the death rates and all of that we seem to follow and obsess about. Then go and check the rates on Cuba and just ask the question, why is nobody asking why they're doing so well in Cuba?
Amazing. Right. So that's what I'm wondering. Will that be suppressed? Will that information come out and be suppressed? There's so much good information out there. There's so important for people to get their hands on, but nobody knows that it exists out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when those results come out.
Yes.
Who's going to be reporting on those results?
No one is my biggest guess, but that's why we need to have communities like the Home Prescribers Club. It's like, I know it's a product and I sell it, but it's coming from a place of, come on, people, what's your plan? What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. And I think even having that, being armed with that, will give people a peace of mind, right? And that will just transfer into the rest of your life. Like for you, when you don't have to give your daughter toxic drugs for a fever, like that must have unloaded so much. And knowing that you've got this, right?
Yes.
Like that's huge value right there. Definitely worth $19 a month.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So quickly, what I wanted to know is, I would want to talk about this in the beginning, but I forgot, is, do you know the story about how this was even discovered in the first place?
Oh, yeah.
One discovered that.
Yes. So that was Samuel Hahnemann.
Okay.
And he died in the late 1890s, something like that, or even 80s. I'm not sure. Or even just around 19, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was a doctor. But at the time when he was a doctor, it was also at the time where there was bloodletting and there was no sense of hygiene, and it was not a nice time to be a doctor, because you actually you healed. You didn't heal a lot of people. It was, if you take blood of somebody, then you may leave and say, oh, look how peacefully he's resting now. It's like, yeah, but he's recovering from his blood loss, right? It's and so I think he went into the healing arts because he wanted to heal, and then he went into the healing art and he found out, well, that's not what's happening here, and I don't like being around all these sick people all the time. So what he started doing was he started to translate research and natural science and so on, because he spoke 9 languages or 8, a lot of languages. So he started translating, and then at that time there was this new fancy treatment for malaria, which was quinine.
Yeah.
So, which of course is a poison. So if you could take this poison, and if you survived the poisoning, then you would also heal and recover from malaria. But of course, the question was if you would survive the poisoning first. So
minor detail.
And then at the same time, Hahnemann, he kind of realized that if you ingest quinine when you're healthy, but you take this poison without being sick, then you produce symptoms that are like malaria.
Interesting.
Chopping an onion, hay fever, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, that's interesting. And then he started going, okay, what happens if we dilute the crude dose? Will there then be the same healing and less aggravation? So he started experimenting with that and he didn't stop. And then in the end, he found out that he could dilute his remedies very, very much. And he would avoid having the poisoning. So arsenicum, like I said, that's a poison too, right? But you don't get any aggravation. You may get the initial aggravation from the disease process that is being squeezed into a shorter one.
Right.
But you don't have to be poisoned by arsenic to recover.
Right.
Right? So that's what he found out. It's just a very, very elegant way of looking at medicines. And he had no idea how it was working.
It's amazing. And so what about the succussion? What is that doing?
So that is something that we're still trying to find out. And there may be some studies that are coming out soon, hopefully, because there is a homeopathic research institute that are doing a lot of studies into exactly these things. So without really knowing what it is that happens in the succussion, then of course, as homeopaths, we know that the remedies, they don't work if they're not being succussed, which is like a very, very violent shaking process that happens between each potency. But there has been some studies done, for instance, where you have different potencies. That means the remedies has been succussed in different ways. Where you can have a very certain dyeing process. So with dye, like fabric dye, or like you have dye, you can put into the petri dishes, and then you can see that the color changes between potencies when the remedies, they get succussed. But we don't, so we can kind of like prove the difference between a 30C and a 200C in that way. But I don't think we know by now what it is that it does.
Oh, interesting.
But it could be the contact with the glass. There's certain, which is silica, because it's being succussed in glass. If there's something that, what we know is that the molecules, they kind of straighten out in a specific pattern. But why and what it means for the healing, and
Yeah. So they don't actually work unless they are succussed.
no.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder how he figured that out too, because that would be something, that's an extra step that you would have to.
I know, and we don't know, but the speculation is that it was that he somehow found out that there was a connection between the remedies he had been having on his horse carriage, because
aha.
they
So in
were more on
modern
the
life, he
stones.
might not have figured that out.
Yeah.
If he was just driving in a smooth car, he might have not figured that out. Isn't that funny? Oh, that's
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I just think of it as energy too, like something of transferring that energy, but the alignment, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Every time I talk about it, I interviewed a homeopath before, and every time I interview homeopaths, I get so excited. It's such a it's elegant, right? It's simple, it's elegant, it's non-invasive, it's cost effective, it's effective, it's safe. There's
Yeah.
so many good things about homeopathy, and such a wide. So how many remedies are there available today?
I don't know. Some people say 6,000 remedies, but in the homeopathic practice, maybe we work mostly within a range of 60 remedies. We all have kind of like our own little um, twists and turns within what remedies we like and what's going on. And
Right.
but that's the range that you normally work within. And then you can have the remedies in different potencies, of course.
Right.
So even though we have like so many different remedies, then there are there's just a certain range of remedies that seems, we call them Polycrest remedies. So that's like remedies that cover everything about a person. So you could basically describe a whole person just by describing the remedy, how you sleep, what your poop looks like, how if you had a cold, if you had, like you
Yeah.
can describe everything. What's
Yeah.
your mood, and do you sweat, and what do you like to eat, and what position do you sleep in at night, and like with everything
Wow.
described. And then there's some remedies that they become very specific. So there was actually one time, I can't even remember the remedy, but there was one time I treated a boy that has like sensory issues in his mouth, and it was like he became almost anorexic because he just could not stand having anything in his mouth. He was so
Wow.
sensitive there.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot of remedies that corresponded with, but there was one. I ordered it and I gave it to him and he started eating.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. Last question. How does homeopathy compare to flower essences? Do you use flower essences as well?
I don't use flower essences, but Dr. Bach that made the flower essences, he was a homeopath.
He was. Okay.
Yes, and he made the flower essences. It's so much. There's a range that's called the bowel issues that I really love very much, and I like to prescribe, which is remedies made from poop. It's
From poop? Not
yeah,
from.
yeah. They're made of poop. Yeah, but there are homeopathic remedies. They have been discussed. They're like energy. If you're happy to take arsenicum, you should be happy to take one of these remedies. It's you
Right.
know it's but that's what they're made from. And when we know how much then we talk about fecal transplants and
Yeah.
like it's basically what it is, but homeopathically. And this is again so much more elegant than actually have to take an enema with baby poop, and see if that's going to heal you. But um, Dr. Bach, he was in that group of guys that made these remedies. And then it was like after he made these remedies, then he was like, I think I'm gonna make the flower essences now. but but the reason why he did it was because the flower remedies you can make yourself actually. And that's what he made it as a democratic, even more democratic medicine, because at the time also homeopathy and allopathy was like the same. It was like, what do you prefer? You just used what you preferred, but they were like even in status and all of that, and also in price range. So he made the flower essences or the flower remedies as a medicine that the farmer could produce himself and learn to use.
Okay.
So they are not homeopathy. They are not diluted. They are not succussed. They're essences, but they have beauty. But even though I don't use them myself, then I know so many people that use them and just love them so much. And I know and trust Dr. Bach. I know everything he delivers is fantastic because I work with him every day in that sense, right?
Right. Okay. So they're not dilute though. I thought they were dilute. I thought it was a similar thing, but flowers rather than.
No,
Oh, okay. That's
yeah,
something new.
they're like herbal remedies.
Like tincture, more
Yeah.
alcohol tincture based type things. Okay, but they work. They do work.
But they work. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, beautiful. Okay, Mette, that's amazing. So people can find you at homeopathy.com. You guys sign up for this. What is it again? Home Prescribers Club. Seriously, that is an amazing value. It's amazing power. It just lets you know that in case of emergency, you've got that there. And I think more and more, it's time to just take control of your health, take control of your life, take control of being, you be your family doctor when you can. I mean, there's a time and a place to go to the doctor, but let's just be honest here. It's not a pleasant experience these days, right? Like I have people like I don't understand how they're obviously not working under their oath. I have a friend who broke up in this big huge skin thing, and because she wouldn't wear a mask, she couldn't wear a mask. Her doctor refused to see her. It's like, well, are you a like? Where's your oath and where's your sense, your common sense, and your common decency? Really, like there's so many different levels. Like, well, I don't think I'd actually want to see that doctor, anyways, personally, because I mean, come on, like
Yeah.
that's a big story. But so these days, and if you're going to move out of the city, and if you're not going to be as close to a big center, you can access a doctor. Just powerful and quick. And that's the thing, like what you were saying with that those trauma cases, like there's certain things like being nipped in the bud so quickly. If we
Yeah.
were to just have access, and that's the thing with everybody. I always say, because there's certain things I have my first aid kit all the time. There's certain homeopathic remedies, there's certain other herbal remedies or skin things that I always have stocked so that I don't have to wait, because you can nip it in the bud and nothing festers. And like you said, so you want to be in that peak of vitality for the acute conditions specifically, right? Because
Yeah.
the body's
Yeah.
ready to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And get the experience with it in those situations, because when you have treated a fall with arnica, you're just like, I saw everything happen. You know, you're like, you have a crazy wild experience, and then you start, then maybe you also have more faith in it for your chronic ailments, you know, for other things. But it's because once you have that experience, it doesn't matter what anybody says.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And we have to stop worrying about what other people say anyways.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Mette. Well, this was amazing. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom. And I think this is people are going to get a lot of value out of this. Got some key remedies that you can have at home. You can access, the kits, get those on your shelves, people. This is time to use this stuff before, I'm concerned that certain things are just going to be made unavailable, especially in Canada. I know Heal, for example, they're no longer available in Canada, right? Because a homeopathic company, because it was just too difficult to do business here, to get their product here. So
Yeah.
get it now while you can.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
and stock up on maybe some of those. I know I don't go through as much arnica now, but once upon a time, I'd always have a bunch, because even through, one last question. Because I used to think maybe this will just work, on an emotional level, because he knows he's getting a remedy that's worked for other things. So when my son used to have more he doesn't get growing pains these days.
Oh, yeah.
But is there a growing pain remedy? Because I used to just give him arnica for pain. And I think mentally he'd just go to sleep and he'd be fine with it. But I'm pretty sure there must be something homeopathically that can help with that.
Yeah. So homeopathic MAC-Phos. So homeopathic magnesium.
Okay.
And it's in all the kits, and then you can also take the tissue salt calc fluor.
Okay.
And
Yes.
and actually next month's theme, next month's new material in the club is about the tissue salts.
And so are tissue salts just less dilute?
Mm.
Is that the difference, or what's the difference?
They are less dilute, and they're made by Dr. Schüssler. So a little bit like Dr. Bach, he had his little thing. Then Dr. Schüssler, he had this thing about, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but this is how I had it explained. I haven't tried burning a cell myself, but apparently these are if you burn a cell, then the tissue salts, the minerals, that's what's left. That's what's there. So it's like the building blocks of the cells.
Right. So the minerals that are left over, the mineral ash or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Oh, that would be a good one too. I have a few of those too that I used to know what they're for, and I would take and then stop taking. But they're yummy. And that's the thing with homeopathy too. It's so easy. It's a little sugar, right? They're just, it's so easy to take. It doesn't taste like anything. It's so amazing. Okay, folks, get into homeopathy. Get that in your first aid kit. It's a really important part of taking control of your health these days and that of your family, which I truly encourage you to do. So thank you, Mette. I really appreciate your time today. You're great. And thank you also for what you're doing for Children's Health Defense. And I look forward to seeing that presence grow in Canada, because we need that, and we need to blow the whistle on what's going on out there. And our kids need us, right? So any organization that's helping the truth come out with respect to our kids, then we've got to get behind.
Yeah.
So thank you.